Hey, it's Endymion, and today we got probably one of the more egregious articles that has caused quite a nuclear reaction that needs to be covered. Sweet Baby Inc. is genuinely trying to change the narrative around their company to ensure that they can continue doing what they're doing without players having a voice in the conversation. And they're resorting to lies. Beyond this, I also want to look at things that connected this to show you how gaming has changed in 2024, for the better and worse. Let's get into it. Firstly, do not harass anyone in this video. I always tell you guys to never harass anyone because it leads to nothing. All you really need to do in these sorts of situations is, ironically, nothing at all. Your lack of effort is actually what hurts these ideological causes the most because your wallets just stay closed. So now let's get to this article. This comes from GameDeveloper.com and it's titled, "Why are Valve and Discord permitting harassment against Sweet Baby Inc.? Steam and Discord are being used as a home base for hateful reactionaries to single out and harass game developers." This article is also written by Bryant Francis. Don't harass this guy either, or I think it's a guy. I don't know, man. Anyway, I think it's safe to say that these media types are definitely feeling the pressure. They know that they can't win in a objectively truthful manner, so they're now resorting to complete lies and censorship because it's all that they know how to do. So let's go over this absolutely bananas article that is not satire at all. They begin stating that Sweet Baby Inc. is being harassed for things they aren't apparently doing, where they say, "While the studio's contributions happen mostly on a micro level, contributing story feedback, helping workshop narrative beats, and writing flavor text and barks with the lens of inclusivity in mind, their work has been reframed as shoehorning black or LGBTQ characters into games for which they were not originally designed, sometimes through intimidation. It's a grim conspiracy theory built on out-of-context comments and a deliberate misreading of their mission statement, as well as racism, homophobia, and other layers of bigotry." Alright, so we're going there right away, are we, GameDeveloper.com? Okay, cool, sounds good. If you guys won't play nice, then neither will I. Look, Sweet Baby is absolutely injecting diversity into everything that they work on. How can you guys call yourselves a legit publication stating these things, claiming that they don't do this, when on your own website you have an article that's titled "Why Remedy Entertainment Went All In on Saga Anderson and Alan Wake 2? An in-depth interview with Alan Wake 2 creative director Sam Lake and game director Kyle Rowley about designing the studio's first black protagonist." Then in that same article, again on GameDeveloper.com of all places, your own journalist wrote this and published it saying, "For creating Saga Anderson, the developers of Remedy took a different approach compared to the process behind other hero characters, resulting in a more organic creative collaboration across different disciplines at Remedy Entertainment and outside parties, along with working with story and narrative consultant Kim Belair of Sweet Baby Inc. to refine the character voice and story arc. The key creatives of Alan Wake 2 also worked extensively with the actress playing Saga Anderson, who offered suggestions and other insights that led to Saga Anderson seen in the final game." I mean, come on, dude. Even the director of Alan Wake 2 told on Sweet Baby himself, where he said this in your same article. I think that it took us a long time to find Saga, said Kyle Rowley on the character. It was an interesting process. We had an idea in our head on what that character could be, but then as the character evolves over time, being open to changing her based on input from the actors and from external sources really opened things up for us. I think that's important for us as a studio to be okay with because we don't do it very often for our characters. This idea on how to create a new hero character, so it is kind of a big moment for us, and it was definitely interesting for me going through that process. Being open to external sources, he means Sweet Baby, by the way. Don't forget, guys, that Saga Anderson was originally a Nordic white woman with pale skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes, the complete opposite of what the final version of Saga Anderson looks like in Alan Wake 2. The character was absolutely forcibly changed once Sweet Baby got involved in the project. Unfortunately, I did play Alan Wake 2. Granted, this was before any of us really knew what SBI even was, but I did find it interesting that in Alan Wake 2, they made one of the old gods of Asgard band members Saga's grandfather, if I remember correctly. So Remedy made her a biracial half-Nordic woman that had ties to the town while not realizing that they were playing into another stereotype, because apparently Saga's dad was not in the picture, who was black, so nice Remedy. Very stereotypical of you to go down that road again, although don't worry, you're not the only ones who did that. Remember that Black Girl Gamers also did Forspoken and made Frey's white mom abandon her after her dad left the picture too. Again, the story ideas in both of these games were okayed by black consultants. So don't blame me, alright? I'm just recognizing the patterns here and then telling you guys. Wouldn't it have been better to, oh I don't know, maybe write a black character that doesn't give into racial stereotypes like this? Why not have a black character whose father is in the picture and actually helped raise them? Sweet Baby with Alan Wake or Black Girl Games with Forspoken would unironically double down on stereotypes without realizing it, and it's honestly sad to see. I thought the point of these consultants was to make these characters feel nuanced and not like caricatures, yet they of their own free will do the exact opposite every single time. Also, let's not sit here and act stupid that Sweet Baby didn't have anything to do with injecting diversity and pushing it either. In Spider-Man 2018, a game where you play mostly as Peter Parker, he's a confident, strong young man who faces adversity at every turn, but rises above the overwhelming loss of his circumstances to become the hero that he was born to be. I don't know about you, but Spider-Man 2018 to me, it felt authentic. In my opinion, that version of Peter Parker, it craps all over the MCU one. This is who I wanted in the MCU, not Iron Man Jr., but a young man who was brilliant enough to make his own gadgets while still struggling to juggle everything else in his life. Then Sweet Baby comes in with Spider-Man 2 and Miles Morales, and everything got bad really fast. Suddenly we're playing as deaf, diverse girls in random one-off missions that have nothing to do with Spider-Man or the plot at all, positioning these missions in a sort of way so that they can easily put them in PowerPoint presentations to raise more ESG funds in the future. And Peter is instead weakened and eventually loses only for Miles to save the city and basically surpass Peter at a role that he was uniquely tied to. Again, Peter went from being a strong, confident Spider-Man to suddenly renouncing his title pretty much, and bowing down to Miles the moment that Sweet Baby got involved. And there's really no point in lying here, GameDeveloper.com or Sweet Baby Inc., because the proof speaks for itself. Every game that they have worked on has resoundingly either failed or barely broke even. And every game, if a sequel to a previous one, has actually sold less than the previous installment. Both Spider-Man 2018 and God of War 2018 outsold Spider-Man 2 and Ragnarok. And yeah, both sequels were worked on by Sweet Baby. Then you have Anger Boda, who was rightfully criticized in Ragnarok because she stuck out like a sore thumb amongst the cast and made genuinely zero sense being a black girl. Like, this is the lands of ancient Nordic times. Why would there be diversity in a place where these cultures have clearly not crossed each other in any way prior to this? Because we both know if God of War was set in a place where Kratos was dealing with African mythology or something like that, Sweet Baby would never advocate to turn an African mythological character white on purpose. We all know this, there's no point in denying it at all. The fact of the matter is that diversity only matters to places like SBI if they can inject their agendas into them, and they have no desire or will to respect the white characters or cultures within these projects they worked on, clearly. How much of a pattern recognition streak do you really need before you realize that none of this is being done genuinely for the artistic sake? Saga is turned black while being a white woman in every other project that she's appeared in. Peter goes from being Spider-Man to turning into iDubbbz in Spider-Man 2. And Anger Boda randomly is a black girl when everything and everyone is Nordic and white because that's what Nordic people look like. Go read a history book for God's sakes. Then you got Suicide Squad, which has also worked on purposely killing off every male hero in either comedic or downright disrespectful ways. Especially the white ones, Batman specifically, but the one single woman who is vaguely not white, but some kind of weird offshoot of being Middle Eastern or something in the form of Wonder Woman is instead given a hero's death. And her biography in-game is written like she is God's gift to mankind, whereas every male character's bio, it reads like they're disposable trash. At what point do we just realize that this is all being done by design? The point of this article is simply that Sweet Baby hates that they got caught doing what they did, and they want the old ways of censorship, the status quo between 2016 to 2021 specifically, to return to social media platforms all over. But they only want this because through censorship of ideas that oppose theirs do they feel that they could actually thrive. Which proves that their ideas are obviously weak and disposable if the only way they can exist is if no one else is allowed to sit at the table with them. At what point do we not realize these games consultancy firms do nothing but ruin the stuff that they work on? They never have to face the financial repercussions of their choices either. They get paid prior to the games they work on even releasing. The actual victims of their choices and input are instead the companies and developers who work on these games that Sweet Baby and their ilk ruin on purpose. And oftentimes it's not even the people at these studios who employ Sweet Baby that face the consequences of their own actions. Instead, when layoffs come, they always throw away the rank and file devs who had no hand in deciding what needs to be made or implemented into these games in the first place, which then creates a self-perpetuating cycle where the problems remain, while the people who want change are instead thrown into the cold. And yet I'm supposed to feel sorry for Sweet Baby for rightfully getting criticized for what they do to games. Because where was Sweet Baby Inc. when the Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance game announced recently that they would be shutting down the game's servers and pulling the game from digital storefronts? A game that, if you didn't know, Sweet Baby worked on that yet again led to another disastrous release where everything from its character, story, and more were criticized for being piss poor at best. These development studios, they keep paying the heavy price for what these consultancy groups are pushing. And I gotta ask, man, when will enough finally be enough for all of you? I hate how they call me a grifter when Sweet Baby Inc. is genuinely siphoning millions out of companies to just tell them to make everything diverse and gayer on purpose. At what point do they just realize that people don't want this stuff in their media anymore? Like, let's be real, the fact that I'm even speaking about Sweet Baby still is honestly incredibly stupid, all things considered, if I'm being honest. Because they're like an infection that just refuses to fade away. Every attempt at removing them, it results in it spreading even more. Then the article this video is talking about, it starts talking about Cabrutus Rambo's Steam curator page for Sweet Baby Inc. detected, and how it needs to be removed, and that Discord needs to remove chat groups that allow people who are against these things to connect online. Yeah, I'm being serious. Look at what this GameDeveloper.com article is saying now. Like, read this with me, and tell me if I'm being crazy, and it reads, despite that increased spike, Valve and Discord have allowed the curation page and server to remain online. Posts from the group's moderators indicate the companies have warned them that content on their platforms may result in them being removed, forcing them to take some additional moderation steps but still leaving them online. Why? Both platforms have made it clear they don't want to be used as vectors for harassment, but slippery language in their terms of service has enabled bad actors to turn their platforms from one where developers do business to ones where developers can be targeted for abuse. That hole needs to be closed fast. So let me get this straight. GameDev.com is genuinely asking for censorship. That's what they're doing here. It's not even a nuanced take. They are actually just straight up saying you need to censor Steam and Discord because they're ruining our business. It's why the Sweet Baby Incs and more are so mad, because they had a legitimate gravy train going on here for them. They would just make stupid decisions, face none of the consequences, make millions of dollars, and then repeat the process. And now that they've been discovered, they pretty much want us all silent so they can continue their grift in peace for the rest of time. And it's funny but expected that, like always, these leftist types all act the same. They just want to censor anyone and everything that they disagree with. And they're not willing to play fair or challenge beliefs or ideas on an equal playing field. It's all just, I deserve to be heard and you don't. That's what this all comes down to. And the fact that we're nearing the end of 2024 and in their infinite wisdom thought it was a good idea to release this article that blatantly lies and gaslights the reader like this, it's genuinely confounding to me. They're even now calling Gamergate 2, and no, I'm not kidding, a conspiracy theory. Here, they say again in this article, when word of the curation group Sweet Baby Inc. detected first surfaced on social media, it seemed like a joke. What was the point of making a curation page detecting games that a consulting company worked on, especially when the games are listed on their site? The answer, unfortunately, goes back to how conspiracy theories spread rapidly in the age of the internet. In order to act like Sweet Baby is the center of some conspiracy theory, there has to be evidence that can be dug up. The bulk of that evidence has been in taking clips from GDC talks and interviews out of context to highlight only comments that support their narrative. Curating games in this fashion on Steam also allows the moderation group to use Steam's curation tools to claim they've revealed what games the agency have been working on. Wow, alright, a lot to unpack there at GameDev.com, but let's get into it then. Firstly, claiming that Sweet Baby Inc. detected on Steam is pointless when the games they worked on are listed on their own site, that is invalid. Firstly, Sweet Baby has scrubbed a lot of who they have worked with on their site already. You can go look that up yourself, by the way. Secondly, curator lists exist for all kinds of things. There's lists for RPGs on Steam, or action games, horror, etc. But why should any of these lists exist if, in GameDevs.com's opinion, these same games exist and are listed on every one of these companies' websites that make each of these sorts of games? It's for the obvious reason that they refuse to list, because again, they're pushing a narrative. It's for convenience. If you're on Steam already and looking for something, what's easier to do? Open up a bunch of new tabs and check every game you see on Steam one by one to dictate what you want to get? Or simply check the curator list and have a handy in-app display of all the things that are a part of whichever list that you're looking for? Game dev knows the answer, they just won't acknowledge it because, like always, it goes against their narrative. Claiming that it's a conspiracy theory is stupid too, because it's not a conspiracy theory to make lists of games that have been worked on by Sweet Baby Inc. That's called objective reality, you weirdos. The curator page for SBI Detected is working as intended, because it lists every game that has been worked on by the company listed in the curator name. I really shouldn't have to explain this. But what we're witnessing is genuine historical revisionism at work before our very eyes as GameDev.com attempts to gaslight and change the narrative to fit their agenda, and saying people are taking Kim Belair clips out of context? You mean like the one where she outright states that if you don't get your way as a consultant, you should take people out for coffee and terrify them into giving you what you really want? Am I lying? Okay, here's that clip saying exactly what I just said now, so please watch this.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups, and if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
So am I lying, GameDev.com here? Am I clickbaiting the viewer? Is this a conspiracy theory that I just repeated what Kim Belair, a Sweet Baby, just literally said there? Of course not. It's the truth. I can't control what she said in that GDC talk. All I can do is present to you what she said. That's not harassment or gaslighting. That is literally what she said. I don't know how much more transparent it can be for you. There's no nuanced context to it either. She actually said you should use fear tactics to scare publishers into giving into your beliefs. Am I taking crazy pills here? I don't think so. These game dev types kind of lose themselves here where they talk about Discord, where they then say, the correlating Discord server has undergone a similar but not all-encompassing purge. Initially, rants about Sweet Baby Inc. and its work were accompanied by a bevy of slurs, hate speech, and broader far-right conspiracies about wokeism and diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And while all this was bandied about, moderators and prominent group members repeatedly warned each other not to violate Discord's term of service. And while all this was bandied about, moderators and prominent group members repeatedly warned each other not to violate Discord's terms of service. Wow, so you admit that despite these groups being made to bring people together who were against the forced agenda pushing in gaming, that they are indeed good people and are actually weeding out the extremists from their own communities. So what's the issue here exactly? Yeah, there's always going to be extremists on any side. And it's obvious, as GameDev points out in their own article they wrote, that these people are fixing the problem and have actually fixed it already. So they're complaining about Discord for what exactly? Existing and fulfilling the purpose of its own existence, which is to bring people together across the world to talk about things and find communities that they align with? I'm failing to see the issue here. You guys just self-owned your own argument without realizing it. Look, I'm also against being racist and whatever else to people. I say all the time in my videos, do not harass anyone or anything like that. Even when I'm being harassed for my takes, I tell people not to worry about it because I'm an adult and I can handle scrutiny on the internet. It's fine, I'll be okay if I get attacked. I think we should never stoop to the levels of our enemies or detractors. They may be pushing for censorship or creating GIFs where I'm being murdered on Twitter, or calling me things that are factually incorrect to spread false narratives, but the truth always wins. And that's ultimately what this is all about. What we're witnessing is one side that is primarily left-leaning, that is going out of their way to legitimize and confirm all the things people accuse them of being support of. Pro-diversity, pro-censorship, and yet they double down instead of proving anyone wrong. And the other side that is just everyone else, including people on the left that aren't crazy, are going, hey, this is stupid, can we just make fun games that don't push on agendas? And then the response from the irrational side, instead of being adults, is to call everyone conspiracy theorists and monsters. Cool, well, then the Gamergating, I guess, will continue then. GameDev.com then tries to claim that Gamergate 2 will lead to Sweet Baby employees or supporters getting attacked or killed in real life. No, I'm not kidding. By the way, like I said before, do not harass these people, don't make gifs of them dying or anything like that either. We must never stoop down to their level of degeneracy. They're like the Joker that's poking Batman to make him break his one rule. Instead, we will just continue to dismantle their operation and ideologies until they can no longer stand in a firm and legal way. Anyway, here's what GameDev said to gaslight you even further. Kim Belair admitted she isn't entirely sure how Valve or Discord should remedy the situation. She and her colleagues at Sweet Baby Inc. aren't experts in online moderation, they're writers, their job is to create fictional problems in video games, not solve real ones. She urged Valve and Discord to recognize that harassment campaigns are continuously evolving and that communication platforms need to keep pace with how they're being used to spread hate. It's clear that some kind of evolution is needed because this will only get bigger, and I don't mean for us, she said. If this playbook can work as well now as it did 10 years ago with Gamergate, it's going to keep working in certain ways and they will find something bigger and worse to do than this. Yeah, no it won't. Nobody wants to kill anyone here. I could care less what the SBI people do in their personal lives. I don't want Kim Belair or anyone else dead or harmed. I don't wish that upon anyone despite what these weirdos think. I just want video games to stop being used as political bludgeoning tools to smash players' heads in with ideology. You'll never find me attacking someone physically over this, besides SBI has been destroying their own reputation through their own actions already. Just look at the graveyard of closed studios, battered releases, and financial bombs that they leave in their wake all the time. Nobody is killing Sweet Baby's reputation faster than they are themselves. Game Dev then says, bad actors have exploited loopholes in their policies, and a small consulting studio with little say in the grand scheme of game production is paying its price. The only bad actors here are GameDev.com and Sweet Baby themselves. The fact that this has been going on for just about a year now, well, a little over I guess if you count when people started to catch on to SBI back in October 2023, and not realize that these issues have been infected into products that were fined beforehand by this consultancy firm, it tells us everything. That despite the backlash, the videos, the online discussions, and loss of financial earnings, Sweet Baby Inc. and the people employed there have genuinely zero motivation to change their ways in a positive manner that services gamers and customers alike. They just see us as faceless NPCs that should just shut up and get in line instead of seeing us as the real human beings that we are. We are not just breathing wallets, we are people just like you, and we do not enjoy seeing the things we love getting ruined like this. Why the hell would I enjoy Spider-Man as a video game franchise getting ruined the way that it has? For money? Are you serious right now? Like I said in previous videos, my vids where I praise games do the best, yet I have to constantly defend players because stupid articles like this exist. Like, look at this article from GameReporter.com, only 15% of all Steam users' time was spent playing games released in 2024. Yup, you read that right. As you can see here, based on Steam's replay feature, about 15% of games played by Steam users were from 2024. 47% of players played games ranging from 1 to 7 years old, and 8 or more years old was sitting at 37%. You know what's interesting about those numbers? The overwhelming majority of players were playing games not made when Sweet Baby Inc. was alive or was attached to games in the first place. It's almost as if players are looking back through gaming history to find experiences that speak to them. I mean, recently I platinumed the original Final Fantasy. I hadn't played the game since I was maybe like 10 years old, I think. So it was fun going back and seeing all the classic stuff that I fell in love with again. And right now I'm currently playing Siphon Filter Logan Shadow, and I never actually played this game myself prior to right now. But I always saw the game as a kid and thought, wow, I would love to play that, but I was a kid, you know, so I had no money. And then as I got older, I kind of just forgot about it. But then it came to the PS Classics catalog and it had trophies, so I went, well, now is the perfect time to finally play this. I'm not done Logan Shadow yet, I'm like 75% or so through it, and man, what a great game. Yeah, it's not difficult, it's simple, and the graphics are obviously on the PSP, but it's really fun and I'm enjoying myself due to how it's nothing like games today. There's plenty of diversity too in Logan Shadow from both the heroes and the villains. It doesn't paint anyone in a solely positive light either, showing that there's evil people on all sides of every conflict, and it's satisfying to line up the janky third-person camera controls and blast bad guys away with the guns that are available to you. After Logan Shadow, I kinda just want to keep playing older games, to be real with you. I want to go back and play Daxter, Secret Agent Clank. Hell, maybe all the old Jak and Daxter games so I can relive when Naughty Dog wasn't riddled with ideology like it is right now. So I completely understand why players are barely playing new releases compared to older ones, because older games don't talk down to you. They don't treat you like an idiot or ruin your favorite heroes to make way for diverse alternatives just because. Instead, you're just able to let your guard down, turn your brain off, and have some fun and forget about the world for a while. And I think that's all people really want these days. They would never release a game like Logan Shadow today. The main hero is too white and straight. The women are not Slavs, and the bad guys are not white men primarily. Well, I mean, there are Russians, I guess. But there's also Middle Eastern villains too, and more as well. You get the point. Logan Shadow is too politically incorrect now, I guess. And there's no microtransactions either, which is awesome, by the way. I don't blame players for wanting to go back and play older games. This year I went back and platinumed the Batman Arkham trilogy of games. I beat them all when they came out, but I never actually 100%ed them. And now I have, and wow, I have a newfound appreciation for those games too. They're so mechanically sound, they push no stupid agenda, and every character feels authentically like they do in the comics or the TV shows that they come from. I had a lot of fun going back that I low-key want to play Batman Arkham Knight again. And if somehow, some way, Arkham Knight got remastered or something into 60 FPS on consoles, I would probably again play it, no questions asked. I think we can all agree that older games are just better than most stuff that gets released these days, and I don't know about you, but I love this about a lot of older games, especially now that I'm 32 years old and I work a lot. I love that these older games are on the shorter side too. Logan Shadow's like maybe 5 hours at best. That's amazing, dude. You kidding me? I love that I can get the full experience and not have to spend an entire month playing through it. I beat the original Final Fantasy recently in like 10 hours with boost because I didn't want to grind. I beat it already as a kid, I just wanted to enjoy the world again, so I did. Even the Batman games are maybe like, 10 to 15 hours story-wise at best. I love it, man. I love it so much. The fact that I can beat all of these games combined, and it wouldn't even be equal to beating like one Ubisoft slop open world game in the same amount of time. Plus, this just confirms what I've been saying for a long time. The best course of action against these sorts of types of activists is just not to play their games, because you don't have to. You already have so much that is out already for you to enjoy, so many adventures and games that are both cheaper, shorter, and better than frankly 99% of the stuff coming out these days anyways. So if you take anything away from this video, I implore you guys, keep enjoying older games. Go play Logan Shadow, the Batman Arkham games, hell, go play something from your childhood that you haven't played in a really long time and just get lost in it again. I'm kind of itching to go back and play Chrono Cross or maybe the Legend of Dragoon remastered finally. We'll see. I just have zero interest in most newer games these days, man. I basically only play Marvel Rivals with my girlfriend and then Fortnite with my buddies as we just roast each other 24/7 while we play it. Besides that, for me recently, it's just old school games, man. God, I love old school games. I still gotta go through the older Castlevania games too. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but you get the point here. Please, go play older games, please ignore these gaslighting weirdos, and continue enjoying things that make you happy and sane. Sweet Baby wants you to play their slop, but I say no. Instead, I'm gonna go shoot some guys and karate chop some dude in the neck as Gabe Logan and Siphon Filter instead. Just look at this game, man. Hell yeah, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, Sweet Baby and GameDev.com are idiots. No wonder Game Dev is facing layoffs. Because y'all still can't, even in the face of your own oblivion, admit to your own mistakes and must instead gaslight players. Well, enjoy the fire and cooking yourselves, and Sweet Baby can keep their activist games to themselves. As always, I thank you for watching, subscribe, thanks to my patrons and members, and I hope that you never lose your love for video games despite the evil freaks out here trying to ruin everything for you. Video games are amazing, and I want to protect them no matter what, so I'll keep doing that. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys soon.